The drama surrounding Tom Brady's recent remarks has shaken the NFL community in ways few could have predicted. For decades, Brady has been celebrated as the face of discipline, teamwork, and championship mentality, a quarterback who defined not only an era, but an entire philosophy of football. His 6 Super Bowl rings with the New England Patriots, his late career triumph with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and his almost mythical status as the GOAT gave him a platform that extended far beyond the field. When Tom Brady speaks, the world listens. But this time, his words didn't inspire, they divided. The controversy began with what seemed like a simple football discussion, the act of celebrating a touchdown. Brady argued that true quarterbacks, true leaders, should focus not on showboating or individual glory, but on bringing their teammates into the moment of success. He painted a picture of his own career, describing how he sought out offensive linemen after scoring drives, making sure they felt just as essential to the win as the man throwing the ball. It was classic Brady, selfless, disciplined, team first. But as he kept talking, the tone shifted. What began as a speech about unity turned into a pointed critique of modern quarterbacks. And suddenly, the legend found himself in the middle of a firestorm. Brady sharpened his comments by going after the new wave of quarterbacks who thrive on flamboyant celebrations. Players who use 6-shooter hand gestures, dance routines, or crowd-pointing theatrics after touchdowns. Without naming names at first, it was clear who he was referring to, and soon enough, he made it explicit. Brady singled out players like Shedeur Sanders and Deshaun Watson, suggesting their celebrations were nothing more than self-promotion. Flashy gestures designed for cameras rather than teammates. To Brady, these moments weren't about the game, but about branding, and in his eyes, they undermined the essence of football. It was here that the conversation turned from football philosophy to something far deeper. Because while Brady may have believed he was critiquing a style of play, the targets of his words, young, black quarterbacks carving out their own legacies, made his remarks echo with racial undertones that could not be ignored. In a league still wrestling with its history of racial inequity, Brady's dismissal of these players' self-expression touched a raw nerve. Fans, analysts, and fellow athletes immediately pushed back, questioning not only his message, but also the biases that seemed embedded within it. For black quarterbacks, the right to celebrate has always been more than just a touchdown dance. It has been a declaration of identity in a sport that historically tried to silence them. For decades, black players at the quarterback position faced skepticism about their leadership, their discipline, even their intelligence. They weren't just playing football, they were fighting stereotypes every time they took the field. And so, when someone like Shedeur Sanders points to the crowd after scoring, or Deshaun Watson shows joy and swagger after a big play, it's not just about entertainment, it's about visibility. It's about saying, I belong here. I am not just another cog in the system, I am the face of the game too. That context made Brady's critique sting, because for many, it wasn't just an old school quarterback telling the new generation to stay humble. It was a white legend, beloved by fans and media alike, using his platform to diminish the expressions of black quarterbacks who have had to carve out their space in a league that often resisted them. Critics argued that Brady's words, intentionally or not, fit into a long tradition of double standards. White players who celebrate, whether it's Brett Favre's grins, Aaron Rodgers' discount double check, or Brady's own fist pumps, are remembered fondly as competitors showing passion. Black players who do the same are too often labeled arrogant, selfish, or unprofessional. The reaction was swift. Across sports media, commentators debated whether Brady was simply being old-fashioned or whether his remarks exposed something more insidious. Social media lit up with players defending the right to celebrate freely. Some pointed out that the NFL thrives on personality, and that celebrations are part of the entertainment value that brings fans closer to the players. Others argued that Brady's nostalgia for a team-first culture overlooked the reality that football has always been about showmanship, from Joe Namath guaranteeing a Super Bowl victory to Deion Sanders high-stepping into the end zone. But the sharpest criticism came from those who understood the racial dynamics at play. They reminded the public that black athletes have historically been punished for expressing individuality. Colin Kaepernick's anthem protests, Cam Newton's dab celebrations, Allen Iverson's fashion choices in the NBA. Time and again, black athletes' personal expression has been policed more harshly than their white counterparts. Brady, knowingly or not, had stepped directly into that conversation by targeting Sanders, Watson, and others. What makes this controversy so striking is how quickly it unraveled Brady's carefully constructed image. For years, he has been untouchable, a man whose leadership, preparation, and success spoke louder than any critique. But now, fans are asking hard questions. How could someone so celebrated for his vision of the game be so blind to its cultural realities? Did Brady simply fail to recognize the racial undertones of his comments? Or did his old school mindset leave him unwilling to embrace the modern NFL, where players' identities are as central to the sport as the playbook itself? The NFL itself has been striving to present a more inclusive image, highlighting diversity initiatives and celebrating the individuality of its stars. Yet Brady's comments cut against that narrative, putting the league once again in the position of confronting questions it has long struggled to answer. Can a sport that has relied so heavily on the labor and talent of black athletes continue to police the way they express themselves? Can the NFL claim progress on inclusivity if its most legendary figures dismiss cultural expression as mere selfishness? Brady, for his part, has not issued a full clarification. Some defenders argue he never intended his remarks to be racial, that he was simply nostalgic for a time when touchdowns were followed by handshakes instead of highlight reels. But intentions do not erase impact. The reality is that his words landed in a cultural moment where athletes are fighting harder than ever for freedom of expression, both on and off the field. To many, his critique wasn't just outdated, it was harmful, reinforcing the very stereotypes that players like Sanders and Watson are working to break down. And so, the backlash continues to swirl. Some fans insist that Brady's legacy as a player will remain untouched, that his championships and records speak louder than a single controversial opinion. Others believe this moment will linger, a reminder that even the greatest athletes are not immune to criticism when they step outside the boundaries of the field. What is certain is that the conversation is not going away anytime soon, because this is about more than Tom Brady. It's about the culture of the NFL, the role of race in shaping perception, and the tension between tradition and evolution in sports. It's about whether we allow athletes to be themselves or demand they conform to an image of humility defined decades ago by men who never faced the same struggles. It's about the stories we tell, the standards we uphold, and the players we choose to celebrate. Tom Brady will always be remembered as one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. But now, he will also be remembered for this moment, when his words carried consequences beyond the scoreboard. A moment when the greatest champion of his era became the center of a debate about race, individuality, and respect in the NFL. Whether he meant to or not, Brady has forced the league and its fans to confront the uncomfortable truth that progress in sports cannot be separated from progress in society, and that even legends must be held accountable when their words reinforce old divisions instead of breaking them down. What do you think about Tom Brady's comments? Were they simply the words of a traditionalist longing for a different era? Or do they expose deeper racial double standards that continue to shape the NFL? Should black quarterbacks have to defend their joy every time they score? Or should all players be free to celebrate however they choose? And perhaps most importantly, will this controversy change the way Brady is remembered, or will it be another moment that eventually fades from memory? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and if you want to keep following stories like this, where sports collide with culture, race, and society, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and join the conversation. Because the game may be played on the field, but the battles that shape it often happen beyond the sidelines.